So I'd like to welcome everyone to the OTF Connect session, Sparking Conversation with Digital Provocations with Tina Zita. It's going to be a great evening tonight. There's a lot of discussion, a lot of activity that Tina's going to be sharing with you. It's always great to see people from all over Ontario joining us for these fantastic sessions, and we hope you have a wonderful evening of professional development with us. So I'm just going to turn it over to Tina, and thanks for joining us.
So good evening. Hopefully everybody can hear me all right. I'm really looking forward to tonight and our discussion that lies ahead. So just a little bit about me. My name's Tina Zita. I am an instructional technology resource teacher with the Peel District School Board, which means I have one of the coolest jobs out there. I get to play with tech and innovation and students and classrooms from kindergarten to grade 12. So it's a lot of playing and exploring. I know some of you I've connected with on Twitter, so feel free to connect there after tonight. I have a Pinterest addiction like everybody else. And if you want to see a weird, funky challenge I'm doing right now, Instagram's the place to be. So our conversation tonight really is all around that idea of how can we spark or provoke a conversation in mathematics. And I think the idea of invitations and provocations, we've seen it in the early years for many years, and I think we can see that in any curriculum area. But I think in math it serves a particular purpose. Maybe it's just with a little smiley face. Has anybody gone to the ROM, to the blue whale exhibit yet? I'm shocking people. So maybe nobody's gone yet. If you haven't, you should definitely check it out. One of the coolest things that stood out to me as I was exploring, it is awesome, Allie. While I was exploring, was really seeing how math came into play and how they share information. So one of the things they put on display was just some proportional reasoning for folks. So to help us understand the size of a whale's heart, what you see in the picture there is a field mouse's heart that you needed a magnifying glass for. Behind that was a raccoon's heart, which looked a little bit as well as a human heart. And then they had a moose heart, which is that weird funky thing that's looking in the top left-hand corner. And then they had a smart card to show you the size of a whale's heart. And it just really pointed to our conversation tonight of the possibilities of images and that visual to really start a math conversation. And I know for me and my nephews, it really started some interesting comparisons and playing with numbers. So tonight we have kind of, oh, cool. Yeah, somebody was saying it was at the museum in Ottawa. So you'll have to compare the exhibits. So tonight's conversation is really in 3 parts. Raise your hand at any time, we can stop, and we'll try to have check-in points and a chance to chat at each of those 3 parts. Our first part is just going to be focused on the why of digital provocations and what do we mean by that. And you may call them something else, and you may be using them already, which is awesome. I'll share a little bit of my journey and my path to them, I guess. We're going to look at some tools to create digital sparks. So sometimes a picture on its own isn't enough. We need to annotate it or engage with it somehow. So we're going to look at some different tools there that we can use, and we'll play that by ear based on some of the questions we're going to do in a minute. But then we also want to leave you with some starting points. So there's amazing folks out there that have created these awesome visual provocations. So it just makes sense to share some of those and have a conversation around which ones would work for your practice. But before we dive in, we want to start with who's here. So just in the chat window, if you could tell us a bit about yourself. Where do you teach? What do you teach? And then if you have access to an emoji keyboard, I know everybody doesn't, you can include an emoji that kind of captures your day, or you can just type in what emoji you would be using for today. So just in the chat window on the left-hand side, if you want to tell us a bit about yourself. Nice to have you with us, Maria. I'm in Etobicoke as well right now. Cool, Francis from Ottawa. So we got some grade 3 teachers there, that's cool. New school in September, Angie, that sounds exciting. Yvonne and Caledon, thanks for joining us. Karen, that sounds like an interesting combination there. Christine, a math facilitator, awesome. I'm sure we'll learn from you as well. Thanks for joining us, Lori. Thank you guys for your introductions. Sabrina, Emergency Supply has to be a pretty awesome title as well. That sounds pretty cool. Thanks for joining us, Mallory and Ange and Krista. Amy, do you teach? I see math there. Is it math in Peel? It's pretty cool. Thanks for joining us, Maria and Anik. Cool. Thank you guys for your introductions. We'll give folks just maybe 1 or 2 more minutes to add their introductions to the group. It looks like we have a cool range of teachers. I see a lot of grade 3s. Natalie, it's awesome that you love math and tech. That's an awesome combination. Oh, Amy, I should have known Mountain Ash. That's terrible. I can't believe I forgot already. Nice to have you with us. So it looks like we have some primary folks, we have some junior folks, we have some intermediate folks. So tonight we'll try to stay to some ideas that go across the grade levels. I think all of the concepts definitely span the grade levels, and when we look at the resources, we've tried to pick a few different ones. But definitely use your lens as you're looking through the activities and exploration topics. All right, so feel free to keep adding your introductions to the chat window. We're going to start with some focus questions, just so it can help us tonight as well. So our first one there is, what grade do you teach? And we were going to use a voting system. Is that still okay, Melly?
Yep, I'm just doing the attendance in the email. So, yep, I'll set the new poll up. No, it's okay. It's always,
sorry about that.
It's fine. I'm going to,
right
here. I just have to set up a new poll every time.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, here we go. A to D. There you go.
Awesome. All right, folks, so just to help us summarize a little bit there with some data management. So if you are teaching the primary grades, if you want to vote A, junior B, intermediate C, and then if you're a mixture or any of those, D. So we have 4 right now in primary, 4 for all of the above, 6 for all of the above. That seems to be the consensus. 9, wow. Francis is primary and junior, Amanda's primary and junior, Elizabeth, you're primary, Clara, you get everything, which is awesome. That's a cool part about some of these jobs, right? Well, awesome. So again, it looks like we're really divided, and Sabrina, that's a pretty cool combination. JIS. All right, so let's try our next question. For this next question, I'm just curious to see what technology you have access to. And we did this as one of those poll questions before, and then we realized that didn't work so well because you probably have access to different items. So just like we did with the map, if you want to take a symbol and just put it under the items that you have access to. So it seems like we have tablets, Chromebooks. We always ask these questions and they're always so varied, aren't they? A lot of the provocations we're going to look at tonight, or the tools for creating your own provocations, would be tablet or mobile based, just because it makes taking pictures a bit easier. But we'll look at how we can do that on a computer and as well. So Karen has access to, Karen has all too. So thanks. So again, it gives me a bit of an idea there. Awesome to see all of that technology that we have access to today. I was just thinking a few days ago back to my grade 1 classroom and how we used just the one computer and the projector. Times have changed, haven't they? All right, we have another question here for you. Out of these apps, we're just going to do another poll question if that's okay. Out of the apps listed there, Pic Collage, Google Drawings, Apple Clips, or if you haven't used any of them, if you could just do a quick little vote there. I know Pic Collage is a pretty popular app. Has anybody tried the editing features within the photographs? Cool, Karen, you have some experience with Google Drawings. We have a few people actually. Awesome. So Apple Clips is actually a brand new app that just came out, I think, a week and a half ago. So I'm no expert in it, but I think it has a lot of potential for digital provocation. So we'll probably spend most of our time looking at that tonight. That's it, Clara. Every time you think you have an app figured out, there's a kid that shows you you didn't figure it out yet. I had that with Adobe Spark Video. Used it for years, and then the kid came up and said, look, that's how you change the timing on a slide. So that's great. So it looks like some folks have used Pic Collage, which is cool. So we may go over that one quickly just to show you some of the editing tools that could be helpful. Google Drawings, which is awesome, and it's just a great desktop alternative if you prefer using your desktop or the Chromebooks. We'll spend some time with Apple Clips and talk about just some alternatives that we could use. So that's great. Thank you, guys. All right. So it was actually, and sorry, I did the slides in Google Slides, so the font's off just slightly once it was brought into the program. It was kind of interesting because this weekend, on Monday, Easter Monday, I was going for a walk and took my nephews out to Rouge Park. And on the drive, oh, don't apologize, Melly, it's all good. On our drive, it was kind of interesting because we got into our standard conversations about schooling. And I find those conversations a little tricky sometimes because as that family member, you hope they get excited about school. As a teacher, you know they're 12 and 13, so they're going through all those intermediate changes that happen. So it was interesting, though, because when we got to a conversation about math, both my nephews have done pretty well in math. Michael usually is a steady level 4 since he was a young guy, really enjoys mathematics. But when they started talking about their math class, it really was, we get problems that we don't know what to do with, or we just have to hear math. And I know we've all had those experiences growing up. And to me, that really keeps bringing that question to mind of how can we engage all learners in the math that we're doing. It's funny, I took calculus for the fun of it, and yet when I go to some math workshops, not that I should be admitting this to a group full of teachers, but that's okay, sometimes I start stressing out because having grown up overseas, I don't always use the same strategies or techniques that other people use. I also skipped a couple of years in high school, So there's pieces of the mathematics that kind of feels like it's missing. And it's funny how that stress comes into play. But then I was reminded how much math is really all around us. And that's why I love Don Abrahamson. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. He's a professor of mathematics education at Berkeley, and he has a great YouTube clip. We're going to just drop it into the chat window for you. You don't need to watch it now, or if you want to check it out later. But it was always a clip that really stood out to me, and I recently shared it at a parent conference, because he starts off with a cello and talking about the fractions that come into play on a cello. And the purpose of mathematics, as he explains in the clip, is really to make sense of the world and to play with problems and concepts. And when he explains mathematics, it gets really exciting because it reminds us just the potential and the complexity of math that's all around us, and that math is really part of our everyday lives. It isn't something that one person is good at over another. It really is just all around us. And that's where I think I got most excited by Dan Meyer's work when I first saw it a few years ago. Just maybe you guys can just give us a little thumbs up if you've seen Dan Meyer's work already. I know he's pretty popular. He's in a lot of the Learning Exchange videos from the Literacy and Numeracy Secretariat. Yeah, I see a couple folks. Awesome. So a few folks have seen his work. If you haven't, I'm going to just drop in his clip that really changed things for me. It's one just about looking at math questions that are irresistible. So he had this question, and the best one from the clip that I remember was just watching, he took a textbook problem that often happens of two boats going opposite directions, one going upstream, one going against the stream. And then saying that's not really something tangible that the kids are used to, and instead he decided to videotape himself going up the down escalator in a mall. So he records himself on video going up the up escalator, he records himself going down the down escalator, and then he starts playing it back when he stands right in front of the down escalator and is about to go up. And I love a line where he says, you don't need to ask kids what the math question is at that point, because they're just so excited and they know when you've set up the scene for that math question to just come to life. And so he talks about playing a few seconds of the clip and pausing it and asking some of your students what's a number that we know is impossible, what's a number that's too low, what's a number that's too high, and just taking it from there. And I think his work and that conversation of making math meaningful and that math is all around us has really led me to look at how can we provoke students' thinking with digital provocations. So one of a colleague that kind of started exploring this with me, and I probably shouldn't take credit, he probably did it before I did, was Matt Oldridge, and I know Matt's done some other sessions here with OTF, and one of the ones I remember the most was shopping for Coca-Cola. So I may have a Coca-Cola addiction, and he had just tweeted out this image that said, hey, he had actually taken three cups from a movie theater and said which one is the best price, or which one's the best purchase. And getting kids, it's an open question, so there's not really a right or wrong answer if they can justify their answer, but working through that. So I built on that and was working with some grade 5 students, and we used the Flip app. Has anybody checked out the Flip app before? Just a thumbs up. It was actually created. Oh. Okay, cool. And so the Flip app is an app that lets you look for flyers in your area, and you can put in an item you're looking for, and just like you see on the screen, it will pull all of the stores that are selling that item right now. So we actually did this with a grade 5 class. We said, hey, I need to figure out where I need to buy some Coke. That sounds terrible. Can you guys help me decide where I should go buy my case of Coke this week, or buy my Coca-Cola? So the kids use the Flip app as a starting point just for us to make those purchases and those decisions. And it was funny just to see how into it they were. We actually used Pic Collage for them to show their understanding, but there's lots of great apps you could use to capture that. Another one that I did, this one still shocks me, and I know Minecraft's starting to move out of the cool factor piece. Unfortunately, Amanda, you can't use Pic Collage on a Chromebook, but we're going to look at Google Drawings tonight, which would be an alternative. And Elizabeth, you'll have to show them the Flip app now. So when we looked at Minecraft, this class was actually doing area and perimeter, and it was funny because I was working with a Swiss teacher at the time and the classroom teacher, and we were going back and forth. It was the summer, so we were thinking, or March-ish, so we were thinking a pool, which was really selfish. It was more for us. And as we went back and forth, we said, why don't we use Minecraft for area and perimeter? Now, these guys didn't even have the Minecraft app. So we hadn't purchased it, we didn't have access to it, but I had just started playing with it, so I cleared a space of 100 blocks of land. I brought my iPad in and said, hey folks, I have this area and I don't know what to do in Minecraft, could you tell me what I should build? And you need to remember it needs to stay within the area of 100 cleared blocks, and you need to tell me what the perimeter is of the different elements. And literally there was a kid in the class that was tapping his fingers in excitement. Again, he wasn't using the Minecraft app. We just used that picture as a provocation. And to me, it really showed me the power of setting the stage with that visual element. Just having that image, having that prompt started that really rich conversation. I think the last lesson, and I just realized they're all junior classes, that wasn't on purpose. The last lesson for me was around infographics. I had been working with a grade 5 classroom teacher, and they were just doing an introduction to data management. So we were going to do an IC, I think, I wonder. Sorry, I'll go back to Nick's question there before we go on to the infographics. Funny enough, they didn't confuse area versus volume. We did have issues with kids with area and perimeter, which we found was more of a math concept. But they got the area piece down pat, and then when they went to justify their perimeter in their video clips, we were using Doceri to do that. It kind of fell apart. So that was interesting. So you would think they would get confused with volume, but that didn't quite happen. Interesting. Clara, I'm glad this helps you. So this was kind of one of those humbling moments. I feel like we always have them in education. You go in with this amazing planned lesson, and then the kids take it down this completely different path. So the teacher was working on data management, and it was just an introduction. So we just wanted to do an IC, I think, I wonder. And we were just using Sketch so that they could look at different representations. So I had scoured the internet the night before for graphs that I thought they would be interested in. So I found some Minecraft graphs, and I found graphs about ice cream and different food items. And we had maybe 1 or 2 sport options. And I kind of made the mistake, I don't know if it's really a mistake, but I went to them and said, well, if there's anything else you're interested in, come and see me. And I literally spent the next half an hour just looking up sports infographics. So from Messi to Michael Jordan to Kobe Bryant. I think what was most interesting about the activity was just noticing how rich the conversations were when looking at an infographic. So when you look at the amount of data that's on the Kobe Bryant versus Michael Jordan infographic, it's double or triple what we would typically give a grade 5 student to kind of tackle and explore, but yet that didn't overwhelm them. And it's not traditionally, a lot of times with infographics, they don't represent data in traditional methods. So we have those graphs that go in opposite towards each other instead of overlapping. Or we have those spotlights on the bottom that kind of highlight data in a non-traditional way. And it didn't seem to stump them like it would in traditional data management activities. And it really just reminded us of the power of that visual to spark a much richer conversation. So we thought tonight that we could try it out. So I have a few pictures that I collected. They're pictures we've used with students or in workshops that we've done similar to this. And as you look at the picture, we just want to think of all of the math questions that come to mind. So you're actually going to use the text feature on the toolbar on the left to type that in, if that sounds okay. Does that sound okay? Any questions? Everybody ready? All right, first picture here. So if you have any math questions that come to mind, just click on the text box and then click right here on the page. Oh, nice question, Nick. How long would this take to make?
And just to clarify for people, the text
definitely could
box is the fourth box down on the white box.
Thanks, Molly. How tall is it? That's a cool idea. That's where we could really use some of those annotation tools to really help them out, right? It's actually made out of Lego. If you've ever, if you have some Lego fans, the creator's name is Nathan Sawa. Oh, sorry, Clara. Put your questions into the chat box and I'll read them out for folks. Oh, how much does it weigh? That's an interesting one too. Yeah, so if you're on the app, I don't believe you can use the text box. So just put it into the chat window and we'll make sure that we bring it up. The Lego bricks definitely comes to mind. How many Lego blocks did it take to make the sculpture? And if you've ever seen Nathan Sawa's work, it's pretty amazing. I always thought of the question of how many pieces would I need to make the other half of the body? Ooh, that's a great question. How would you determine the volume of the shape? And those questions of how heavy is this piece or how tall is this piece, that's where those reference elements of knowing 1 block or 10 blocks, and as I learned from Matt the Fibonacci series, so making that small estimation from a small area and building on that. Yeah, 101questions.com is a great way to do it. They have awesome provocations there. And we're going to show you a collection at the very end of the night. There's a gentleman in the States that has actually put a Google Slides page with links to, I think he has 12 different places you can find questions. So from graphing stories to fraction images. So hopefully those will be good takeaways for you, Amanda, that you could take. All right, we're going to go to the next picture. We're going to move the next pictures a little faster. All right, so this one here. This picture actually comes from the fact that we were working with a school last year that was doing a tree inquiry, and how could we build the math provocations into what they were doing already in school. Oh, we've never had that one, Nick. What day is it when this picture was taken? Well, I didn't think of that one too. I like that question of how much taller is the tree than the house. So the symmetry of the leaves is cool. How old is the tree? Definitely the colors. Could see some probability probably coming into play. Yvonne, that's a very awesome worded question there. The percentage of leaves are still using photosynthesis. Yeah, Angie, a lot of us have chatted before about how long it would take for all the leaves to fall. How long would it take for all the leaves to change? Ah, that's a cool, how many branches and leaves are on the tree? That's a cool one too. Time lapse. That's what we were saying too. It would be really cool, in this situation we just have a picture, but it would be cool if we're doing a tree inquiry to take a picture every day and then make our predictions and our math questions on that time lapse, so we could see those changes over time. Same with the Lego. We saw the Lego as one final product, but wouldn't it be cool, especially in some of the earlier grades, to videotape one of our Lego creations, and then pause it halfway and make some predictions of how much longer it would take to complete, or different elements that we would see there. Okay, we're going to go to our next question here. Next picture. Hopefully I'm not cutting anybody off. All right, our next picture. So what questions come to mind? I know, angles is what pops to my mind too, for sure. I definitely think you could do some shapes. It's not your traditional what shapes do you see, but there's so many shapes hidden within shapes when we look at the new ROM extension. Because you have those trapezoids there, and you have those rectangles within the window. See some triangles in there too. Ooh, multiplication, cool. Surface area, that's an interesting one too. This is what I love about doing the pictures. Every time we share pictures, people come up with new ideas and things I had never thought of. And that's the idea, is that we have so much of this interesting mathematics around us. We have so many things, passions and interests the students come to our classroom with. What is it that we can really use to spark that conversation and that dialogue? Fractions. I love the idea of fractions in there. How many students will fit inside? That's a good one too. How many people can line up around that outside structure? I should have taken a picture when they have the crazy lineups outside. That would lead for some interesting mathematics too. Thank you guys so much for all of the work there. Awesome. So now that we're warmed up, do you guys want to do this last one? This is our last image. We'll take a few minutes. Go for it. If there's any questions, one of the questions that I always talk about with some of our early years friends is we talk about the idea of our wonder windows, and when we're going for our community walks and our explorations, is what is just right around us that we could use as a provocation. So often we say looking outside and what shapes do you see. This one was interesting because I was looking for a playground picture and this one came up. So I thought there was some interesting pieces that could come up with this image. In particular, I thought even just the conversation around quadrilaterals. Ooh, area and perimeter. I like that. Oh, that's cool, Elizabeth, about a number story. Yeah, cool, with the paint idea. Even using it as a provocation to build our own playground, and how much would it cost to replicate and create something like that. That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to warm up with that. Oh, Nicole, I think there definitely is some potential there for transformations. It would be cool to kind of explore that with an app, I think, of seeing how you could take an object and transform and rotate or flip it. So many cool ideas. Awesome. Thank you so much. So we just want to take a second. We've used just a couple pictures and we've talked a little bit. So maybe just right now, thinking about your own practice and your learning goals, what's one image that kind of comes to mind that you know you could use with your kids to spark a conversation? Maybe it's one that we saw right now, or maybe it's a different idea you had coming to mind. So again, if you want to add your idea to the chat box, or if you want to use the text feature to add your ideas to the presentation, that's great. So Lori, I love the idea of sports-related images, and Nick, that's awesome about the Jays game. I know I found one recently, and I think I can drop it in here just if anybody's interested. I have a Pinterest board of infographics that we're collecting. I didn't know the government makes infographics, so for a lot of the government topics, like immigration, there's lots there. I love the idea of the Costco price label. The sports, of course, engages so many friends. Ooh, I like the idea, Yvonne, of the flip book, bringing in some math conversations into that book that you're making. Grocery store, that's awesome. I even took pictures sometimes of the gas station and the gas prices changing. Because there's just so many. The other one we did once was the chocolate bar section of a grocery store, because they have all the nice little price tag and sale items up. Sabrina, there's so many amazing pictures out there, isn't there? And that's where I think the infographics are really cool. So in Peel, there's an awesome one that the region has done, where they talk about Peel as a village, and they actually talk about the demographics, languages spoken at home, and different pieces like that, which is really cool. I wonder if there's any about the global goals that the UN has come up with. It'd be cool if they had some images. The ones that do come to mind as well are those pictures of, see if I can pull it up really quick. Time. They have those comparisons of toys and food across the world. And oh, there we go. So I have it right here. I'll just drop it into the discussion board. Oh, The World as a Village is a great book for that. Yeah, Nicole. Do you know what I also love is I recently found, and I'll try to find the name before the end of tonight, but I actually found a book that's meant for older kids that does the same thing. So they've created a visual representation of just like literacy rates or birth and death rates each year. It's a really cool book. I'll try to pull that up for folks in a bit. Oh, I love the different size of tidbits. That's awesome. Movie prices, that's really cool. Thank you guys, that's awesome. We're just going to take one more minute if you want to add it, and I'm going to find that title for you. That's my problem, Allie. I can't remember the title. Do you know what? I can't find it just. This is my problem. I can picture things in my head and I can't remember the title. So I'll find it really quickly. Oh, Angie, great idea. All right, so it looks like we've all added to that list. I'll try to find that book at some point. I love the idea of superheroes. That kind of sounds interesting. Even Pokemon cards, right? It's weird that they're getting back into fashion right now. All right, thank you guys so much. So we wanted to talk a little bit about if we wanted to create a spark. So we said that with a lot of the pictures, that we may want to annotate, enhance the picture a little bit to really help be that provocation for our kids. I think there's also a lot of potential for them being great provocations for families as well, so using that picture as a starting off point. So I thought we'd look at 3 apps tonight, and we'll spend less time on Pic Collage and go a little in Google Drawings and spend more time on Apple Clips if that's cool, just because it seemed like some folks have already explored it a little bit. And we'll just talk through them. Again, raise your hand if you have a question, or jump in on the text box if you've used any of them, or if you have a similar app that you suggest. I know we all have different tools. So I think Pic Collage is one of my go-to apps, just for the fact that Pic Collage is a free option and it's available on Android and Apple. It just makes it easier. So if you have your phone in your hand and you see that awesome picture, you can just quickly annotate and enhance that image to share with your classroom. And whether we're using a tool like Google Classroom or we're on Twitter, there's lots of possibilities there. Thanks for the book recommendation, Maria. I don't think I know that one, but that's oh yeah, I do know that one, but it is not the one I'm thinking of, but that's an amazing book. I need to get myself a copy of it. So as we look at Pic Collage, one of the things that I really like in Pic Collage is that we have this opportunity to, and I'm just going to see if I can get, I don't see the laser pointer today. I don't know if you can see can't see my pointer there, but if you look at the top, we've kind of been able to annotate right on the picture. So in the bottom corner there, we can see we've used the edit tools with the splash feature to highlight a section, but then we also just have the draw tool to be able to enhance that. And thanks, Clara, for making the point about Pic Collage Kids. I know there were some there's ads that come up in Pic Collage. So Pic Collage Kids is an awesome option, and it's free as well. So it's a great option if you haven't already downloaded the app, or if you have the opportunity to make that request. Now, Mally, is it okay if we do the screen share?
Yep.
So I'm going to try to resume sharing, and hopefully we'll have my iPad on the screen. So we've never done this before. We've tested it, but we haven't done it in a live session. So hopefully this works for folks. And if it does, we'll be so excited, we'll tweet about it afterwards. So hopefully you see my iPad on the screen. Can anybody give me a thumbs up if they do?
Yep.
Hey! Okay, so this is awesome. So instead of sitting through a lengthy video of me talking about it, we can show you really quick. So I'm just going to go to Pic Collage for Kids. Anybody that's used Pic Collage, you're going to see it looks really pretty much the same app. So if I go in, I can go into my photos. Now I have a bunch of photos of fractions that I wanted to use for our story. So they're just fractions around the house. So I'm going to put those in. And I can actually just manipulate those there if I wanted to. Now this is a good point where the kids may not actually notice. And I'm going to let this go because I could be fiddling forever. So I'm going to just go to my plus sign for those that haven't used it before. The plus sign is just the tool that you use to access any of your materials you want to put in your collage. So we're just going to put a title and say, what fractions can you find? And we can get really fancy here if we wanted to look at our different texts and look at our background colors there. So we can really get into some fancy editing. We're going to let it be there though, because I really want to show you how we can enhance the picture. So something like this is a good example. I have my picture here of my camera, but kids probably aren't going to really notice the fraction that's on my camera. So I really want to enhance it, and I also have a lot of extra space that's going to get lost. So if I double tap on my picture, I actually have a toolbox that comes up. It's a hidden toolbox that most people haven't seen before. Oh, perfect for setting up which one doesn't belong, Nick. And so I can actually cut it out. So I can just draw around my camera there if I wanted. Just need to make sure my lines meet back up. So now I have my camera focused instead of focusing in on all the other pieces there. And now I want to actually highlight this a bit more because kids again may miss the fraction. So if I double tap and I go into effects, that little yellow wand, then I can go to the draw option there, the pencil, and I can draw right on my picture. So I can actually draw a box right around the fraction and draw a little fun arrow to it. So now that if my kids come to that picture, they're going to see that fraction really stand out. So we could do the same thing with our butter here. Now with the butter, we're going to use a different effect. So I'm going to go into my effects. And one of the effects I really love is called Splash. Splash turns the whole picture black and white, and then you can just highlight the section that you want to highlight. So maybe I just want to highlight the top where it shows the fractions that on top of the butter. Now if I apply that, I can still go back to my draw and put a nice fun arrow and black probably wasn't the best idea, but that's okay, to point out those different fractions that are on my butter container there. So again, you can see how it really helps you focus. So a great opportunity to really enhance that collection and have it one image that we can use as a provocation and a spark. So Christine, the understanding I have about the difference between Pic Collage and Pic Collage Kids, because I struggled with it myself, was that Pic Collage will have ads, and they haven't really filtered any of those ads. So they created Pic Collage Kids to have more controls in place when searching for images and the ads that pop up. I did notice, though, that they just added the draw feature in Pic Collage, and that hasn't come. I think we're stuck with the poop emoji, unfortunately. Kids always find it, no matter what. It's such a bummer on that one. We love apps like Pic Collage too, because we can click on that share button, and then we can quickly save to our library, which means we can get it off our phone or get it off our iPad and share it anywhere we like. So a great quick app that we can explore. Any questions about Pic Collage? Anybody already use it? If you have Pic Collage? Oh, cool. I didn't know that, Marla. That's really cool. So you're using the control settings, I guess, to help you out there. Melly, could you do me a favor and just pause the screen sharing? Sorry, seem to have lost that. Thanks. That's awesome. That's cool. So hopefully that was a bit of new features for you for Pic Collage. For me, and I don't know, Melly, if it's okay if you can share that first link. We won't put it up on the screen. So for me, Which One Doesn't Belong Math is such an awesome opportunity for conversations and provocations in class. I know some people already mentioned it in our conversations along the side. So there's been so many great opportunities, and as Nicole was mentioning, it's so awesome to be able to explore which one doesn't belong. But I think for me, I keep thinking of the Sesame Street song. One of these things is not like the other.
Tina, is that the one that you call How to Annotate Pic Collage? Or Mrs. Horn's class sample?
Mrs. Horn's class sample.
Okay.
Awesome,
do you want people to watch it?
Yeah, we'll take a minute in a second.
Okay, because I'll put it in the on the whiteboard as well.
Oh,
so
thanks.
Yeah, we can watch it two ways. I'm going to put when Tina tells you to, you can click on the link that's in the chat that I'm going to put right up, or we'll also be able to watch it together through web tour. So I'll start it when Tina says to go.
Okay, cool. So one of the things, it was kind of cool, we used a lot of the Which Ones Don't Belong with Allison's class. And these guys were looking at shapes, and we wanted to do something different. And it was a grade 3 class, so it's one of those hard years because you've already talked about 2D shapes a lot. So we're building on that understanding. So we had the idea of getting them to do a Which One Doesn't Belong. And this example is actually pretty cool because it's a student's example of creating her own set of pictures and then walking us through which one doesn't belong. So it wasn't the perfect, I know that there's supposed to be more than one right answer, but with them we just had them decide which 3 belonged. So we can take a quick look. It's only 30 seconds. And hopefully it cooperates.
Just hold on. People might need to click on it, but just hold on.
We're asking a lot of the tech tonight.
There you go.
Awesome. Don't know if you guys can hear it though, can we? All right, so folks, feel free to click on the link if you want to hear my friend explain it. It was awesome to just see her take all of that vocabulary that they had worked on and apply it to her creation. And like some people have mentioned as we've gone through our conversation in the slides tonight, as much as we look at these provocations as pieces that we create, I think there's so much opportunity for the kids to create them as well. And for that, I know some people mentioned what we could use on a desktop to create the tools. And we're going to put the link for the YouTube video just in the chat window if you want to take a few seconds to look at it. I've just gone through the steps, and if you just prefer that I talk through it. So Google has a lot of tools. You could definitely do the same thing in Google Slides. But Google Drawing is Google's tool that they use to allow you to create your own images. What's cool is we can use shapes and lines and colors in our text, and then we can also bring in images from online. Google has this awesome option to actually drop in pictures that are Creative Commons, so pictures that the kids can actually use. I'm just going to drop the link in there for you if you want. Oh, thanks, Mally. As well as taking the opportunity. Ooh. Okay. We'll let the video do the talking.
Some of you may want to create your laptop, Windows, computer. So one option that we have, especially if you have access to the Google Suite, is Google Drawing. Not one of the well-known tools in the package, but a great little resource. Now that being said, if you wanted to, you could do what we're doing right now in Google Slides really quickly as well, just to see you some more design options. So Google Drawing allows you to create your own vector programs. So using shapes, lines, and different tools, we can compose our own image. So whether you're doing it or the students are doing it, a great option is Option. Click this, I'm going to click on the key, so you can do a quick cut in here. So we're going to change that side effect. Well, hey, I didn't. I'm going to change the time here. There we go. I have to change the letter instead of the leg. It's not printed, there we go. And I'm going to bring in another shape here just so I can create my code grid. And change the color, there we go. And I'm going to use my lines. There's these handy little guides that will let you really cut it in half. And use your pointer, this is the to highlight the elements that you're wanting to explore, wanting to edit, and then you can change the color or the weighting of that line. So at this point, I would probably go to File and make a copy, just so I don't have to do this grid again. But I'm going to be lazy today, and we're going to make a quick little which one doesn't belong. So I'm going to go into Insert and Image. And you may have pictures on your computer, or you may have somewhere online that you found them. For today, I'm just going to go to Search, and I'm going to look at quadratus. So I'm going to do a diamond shape. And these are Creative Commons pictures you have access to. So we'll just kind of that and drop that in. There. Go into the image. And then, oops. Once your pictures are all in, you can go to File, and then download as. And you have your options here to save it as an image file that you can use in your Google Classroom, you can speed out, etc. And you can download it as a PDF and print it out.
So thank you guys for watching that. That was a bit long. I probably should have sped that up a little bit. So I see some folks like Nick has used it for 2D shapes with their grade 1 to sort them out. Christine had played around a little bit. So here's the deal, Christine. Google Drawings is a full vector program. So one of the benefits is that you can download as many image types. You'll also get all of your vector drawings. So if you wanted to draw a 3D shape or different 3D solids, you definitely have that freedom. To be honest though, if I was doing something really quick, I could do it a lot faster in Google Slides because I'm not having to create that box and those lines and all of those pieces all the time. And Google Slides definitely does give you the option of using shapes, where something like Google Docs, it's always just that text and in that height, top to bottom, left to right kind of format. So Google Slides would definitely be a great option. Google Drawings is just a drawing tool. So I know recently we used it with a grade 3 class to create an infographic about units of measurement. So we had them make a little poster, and I was just thinking that could have been a great provocation, just of having them say, what do you measure, with a variety of different tools and working with it that way. Anybody else have any questions about Google Drawings or Google Slides? It really is just that I know some people prefer to create on the desktop. Another great option, if you've never tried it out, is canva.com. It's just very, it can suck you in. So Canva is a design tool for newbies or experienced individuals alike. It's a free tool to use. You can pay for stock photos if you want, but you also can upload your own images. So if you're really wanting to make a really slick-looking image, Canva is a great tool to help you out. Awesome. So now for kind of the app of the evening, if that's okay. So one of the apps that I was thinking about, in the past I've looked at apps like Flipagram. So we've done things like why is 10 an important number, and finding all the places that we see 10, or looking for angles and using Flipagram to create a collection of 10 pictures that are angles in our community and getting them to think about it that way. Same with the fractions pictures that we just looked at. We could create a picture in Pic Collage, but we definitely could put them into something like Flipagram, or maybe you have a favorite slideshow app like iMovie, Pic Play Post. I know some people right now are using Ripple, so we all have our favorites. But Apple Clips is a new tool that they use, and I think especially for the intermediates or for that engaging element, there's a lot of potential that Apple Clips kind of brings with it. So I was playing this week, and we actually have a sample clip if you're interested. Just what could we do with some Lego and some sorting. So I don't know if we'll be able to do the web tour for that. It's really short. And thanks for sharing the link there, Melly, to get the app if you're interested.
Tina, you're going to need to tell me what you called it in the file, because I have an Adobe clip.
No, it's the Twitter one.
The Twitter math spark example?
Sorry, it says on-screen Twitter link to sample clip. Did you see it?
Yeah.
If not, I can just put it in the box and folks can check it out.
Yeah, if you could,
yeah, that's
I just
right.
want to make sure I get the right one, because
So I know people are very jealous. This is how I spend my nights trying out new apps. But it was lots of fun, just looking at the opportunity of how we could use titles and some of the on-screen overlays, as well as the stickers to kind of highlight and enhance the mathematics we wanted to tackle. So we'll give folks just a second or two to check out the clip, and then we'll give you a little tour of Apple Clips if that sounds okay. So just give us a thumbs up when you're ready to go. So under the little smiley face emoji, that little thumbs up approval. Awesome. Thanks, Christine. You found the emoji in the chat box. That's awesome. So we're going to take you for a little tour of Apple Clips. I'm going to say it is a new app for me as well, so I'm still learning all the ins and outs. So after we show you the clip, I'll send you a link to a girl that explains it in the Wall Street Journal. And because it's so new, there's not a lot of education examples just yet, but we can chat about some of the possibilities after we take a look at the app. So we're going to resume the sharing here and see if we can, hopefully you can see the iPad again. Using my passcode, sorry about that. So Clips is a free app. Unfortunately, it's not available for all Apple devices. It is available for those that can get the newest operating system. So as we open it up, I'm just going to go down here and make a new clip. And you don't want to see my ceiling, so we'll switch it around there. So I'm going to start off with a title for my clip. So if you look at the top of our page or of our app, we have a speech bubble and 3 circles, which is our filters. We have our star, which is our stickers, but we're going to use the last option there, that's the text. And we're going to pick, I like this one here. So we're just going to click on that. It's going to download it in for us. And then we can just tap on the words to change them up. And we'll just say fractions. Put a nice exclamation mark on there. It doesn't go to one line. I don't like that. There we go. Now to add that to your story, we have to hold and record because everything is a video that it's going to end up. So as we hold and record, chatting fractions. And you might have noticed they do these cool animations, so even though it doesn't take you a super long time, it looks really fun and classy. Now I'm going to go in and take another text, so we're going to actually maybe use this one right here, and we'll change that text to say, where do you see fractions? And on this one, I'm actually going to go to my stickers, because this is a perfect time to add maybe a little wow piece in there. Hopefully the app doesn't freeze on me. I'll put this one in. There we go. I may be just not patient enough. We'll put the comic in. And we'll give them look around the house. So there we go. And again, we're going to record. Where do you see fractions? Look around your house. Here's some ideas to get you started. And now we want to bring in those pictures that we have in our library. So remember how we had our fractions, so I'll bring in my camera that we wanted to bring in. Now remember again how we said we want to kind of enhance this. So we have this really cool feature here with the filters that we can give it kind of a cool comic book effect, or we can give it a bit of an instant old school effect there, or the black and white ink, that kind of looks cool. Now I want them to pay attention to that fraction again, so I'm going to go into my stickers, and in my stickers I have these cool circles. So I'm actually going to go back to my filters and go back to the comic book. There we go. So, and I can resize that so we can make that circle smaller, and I'm actually going to put another sticker that points to it so they really have to notice it. Now the coolest feature with clips is that you can actually do text overlay. So as you talk, it will actually capture those words on the screen for you. So as I hold my button here, I see fractions when I look at aperture. And it's not really a preacher, but we'll go with that. So if we play back our movie now, and I'm sorry you can't hear the sound. You can see how we really quickly can create a really interesting video as a provocation for our learners. So just to add another picture, we just keep going to our library, and this time I'll take my butter in, Let's go into that comic look again. So this time, maybe we'll do the box here, and we'll put that right around those fractions. There's fractions on my butter. This is also a good time to say that the little clip I'm going to show you will let you change the text if it doesn't work perfectly. Because I have the headphones on, it seems to be a little not as accurate as it was last night. Now to save your clip, you just close your screen. With the clip, you can say share with your little box and arrow, and we can save our video. So if we save our video, we can drop it into our Google Classroom, we could tweet it out, we can put it on our class website. There's so many possibilities for it. And it's a free app for anyone with an iPhone or an iPad that is able to download the most recent version of the iOS system. So we'll just switch back if that's okay. Awesome. Thank you, guys. So I see some folks have, Claire, you're going to try it tomorrow. I can't wait to see what you tweet out. It's a really cool app, and I think it has a lot of potential for sparking that conversation. So when we talk about a lot of our math concepts and making that connection back to what we do in the classroom, or make that connection back to their real lives, the students' real lives, and those math concepts we're tackling, when I look at algebra, it doesn't really make sense to me. But when we played a patterning game once and broke algebra down into really calculating those patterns, it made all the more sense. And to me, I think, how could we capture that in our real life and create a quick provocation or clip that can make that connection? So we don't have those moments like my nephew saying it was just this boring problem that they saw up on the screen. So Deb and Marla and Nicole, you guys will have, and Christine, you guys will have to let me know how it goes when you guys try it with your class. So we have another question. That's the 3 apps that we wanted to explore. Is there any ideas kind of brewing? Is there something that you could see working with your practice? Is there something you could see students doing? Are one of those apps speaking to you more than the others? We'll just take a minute to kind of check in with the group. I'm glad people like the Apple Clips app. I didn't know if we should show it, but it's a fun one. All right, so Pic Collage and Apple Clips, that's awesome. I'm glad you liked it, Sabrina. Oh, cool, B. That's it. We use Pic Collage a lot for Twitter posts, or sometimes we use it with kids, but I think it has a lot of potential for quick editing within the classroom. I also like using Paper 53. It's an app I use for sketchnoting, so you can bring in pictures and doodle right on them, so it's great that way. I know, unfortunately, a lot of schools got the iPads a few years back, so the Apple Clips may not go on it. You couldn't get Swift Playgrounds. But I think that's why I do like things like Google Drawing and Google Slides, because they are options to use on Chromebooks and desktops. Oh, that's a great idea, Nicole. Using Apple Clips to do which one doesn't belong. And they could do a selfie video at the end. If you look at how this girl used it, so I did a quick overview, but this girl really rocks Apple Clips for sure. So she does just a quick little overview. It just shows you the potential. I could see some kids really jumping on board. Nick, Paper 53, actually, you don't have to pay for it anymore. When it first started, you could only get 1 or 2 tools for free, and then they came out with their stylus, and I think they pretty much make enough money on their stylus that they don't have to charge for the app anymore. There is like an advanced user or they call them freemium apps that are free, but they have these premium features that you pay for. So they do have something like that, but you don't need to use any of those features. I don't pay, and I sketch with it at least on a weekly basis. And I know if you do feel like this, you do have older iPads, an app to check out, I'll see if is Flipagram. Flipagram's a free, quick little digital storytelling app. It isn't quite as awesome as Apple Clips is, but definitely a great app to check out. You can make your little slideshows, you can put videos in, you can put text on the picture, and they have a new feature that it kind of syncs with music. I forgot to show you guys that Apple Clips will let you put overview music on as well. So if you do have older iPads, Flipagram would be a great alternative if you really liked Adobe, the Apple Clips. And Adobe Spark is awesome too. I know the hard part with Flipagram and Adobe Spark is that they have sign-ins. So one other app that you could really use, which is one of my favorites, unfortunately it's not device neutral like Flipagram, so it's only Apple devices, phones, iPod touches, or iPads, is Shadow Puppet. Worst possible name for an app ever. Has nothing to do with shadows or puppets, but a great tool if you're looking for a quick alternative for making a little story come to life. So text, pictures, and they have a little wand where you can highlight. Yeah, and Marla, it's so simple that we've had even K1 use it, but we had grade 6's create book trailers in it as well, so it's pretty awesome to see the potential of what they can do with it. Pretty amazing. So lots of cool ideas there. We wanted to leave you, though, tonight with the clips and the why, but we also wanted to leave you with some practical places to kind of get started. And this is where it gets funky because there's just so many options for starting that conversation. So I just pulled together and curated some of my favorites, and I brought you a curated list from a colleague on Twitter. It was just tweeted out. I checked it out. It's one of the best resources I've ever seen for those digital provocations because it's all in one spot. So as we go along, we'll try to share those links along the side for you, just so that if you want to check them out or peruse them or find something. So that's Jay Stevens' curation at the end. I'm going to go through 3 of my favorites first, just 3 that I've really enjoyed. And they kind of tackle which one doesn't belong math. We've already talked about it, so there's lots of potential there across the grade levels. Sometimes, though, we're looking for pictures for the primary years. So one great account that I love following on Twitter is Math Monkey. So if you haven't checked out Math Monkey, and I'm going to make probably say something wrong. Math Monkeys actually run from someone in the east end of the province, and they just share pictures and provocations and the questions that you could use with a grade. Awesome. I love that, Nick. There's just so many amazing images and pictures that we can use as that starting point and that provocation. Of course, Which One Doesn't Belong Math is a great resource as well. Do people mostly follow them on Twitter, or you use the website? If you use the website, just give me a thumbs up. So on the website, yeah, see, that was me too, Nick. I always would follow them on Twitter, and I'm trying to get into the habit of going more to the website, just because on the website they have it sorted out by numbers, graphs. Twitter is cool just to be able to follow over time, but the website does organize it by numbers, graphs, and shapes. There's a gentleman that actually helped with the beginning stages of Which One Doesn't Belong Math, and he's actually published a picture book around Which One Doesn't Belong shapes. But the Twitter, I love the Twitter feed because there's so many people that have created new ones that sometimes make it into that Twitter stream before they make it onto the website. The last option there is, especially when we're looking back to Dan Meyer's work, and another guy that's done a lot of work with OTF, and I know he has a session coming up soon. Oh yeah, John Orr's book, right? Is that John Orr's book, Bedtime Math? Or is that the gentleman from the States? Awesome. I know John Orr just published a book, which is pretty awesome. with bedtime math prompts. Another one to check out would be Math Mashup. He does those weird algebraic sticker prompts. For the older grades, and there's definitely stuff for the younger grades, 3, 4, and 5 as well, would be Tap Into Teen Minds. So Kyle's gone through and he's curated a collection of 3-part, 3-act math lessons. And we'll just drop that in on the side there for you. Oh, cool. We should have created a page so we could collect some of these. Great ideas. So Tap Into Teen Minds is from John Orr. If you go to the page, the 3-act math page, it will take you straight to 3-part math lessons that all start with a digital provocation. So whether it's a video or an image, but it actually walks you through what's that minds on piece, what's the action piece, and what's the debrief piece. Sometimes there's even videos for each of those sections. Thanks for joining us, Clara. So the last collection we thought we'd share with you was John Stevens' collection. So he's created this Google Slide page, which each of those, and I said 12, but I was right, there we go. Each of those 12 boxes links to a different resource that can help you with provocations. So one that was new to me was the Would You Rather. It actually shows you 2 pictures and you have to decide which you would rather do. Another one I really loved was the bottom right option there that says visual patterns. There was just some really interesting representations of patterns. And I talked to John and he was super stoked to share the collection tonight. So if you scroll up a little bit, I know Maui already shared the link to John's clip there, but we can share it again if you like. It's not very pretty because it's a Google Doc link. But lots of options there if you want to take a minute to look around. And I know some of the options we already talked about with 101 questions and which one, some of the estimation 180, which you may have checked out, which is another great option there. Anybody have any other go-to resources? So we heard the bedtime math. Any other sites that you go to for provocations or starting points? And maybe as we're thinking and we're exploring, we'll move into some of our closing pieces that we want to debrief and kind of tackle as we head out tonight. So we've talked about a lot. We started with why we want to explore digital provocations. You guys had all those amazing questions that we looked at when it came to those images that we explored. We looked at the 3 apps. We looked at Pic Collage and Google Drawings, and then also Apple Clips, and we talked about some alternatives there like Shadow Puppet and Flipagram if our iPads are older and we can't get Apple Clips on. And we also looked at some of those quick provocations. So looking at which one doesn't belong in Math Monkey, looking at those visual patterns in some of the collection that John Stevens put together. And it's awesome to see so many great links suggested from the group as well. So the Solve Me and ArcPix will be things that I'll be checking out. So we really want to take a few minutes as we're coming to the end of our time together and just really think of what's that one thing you're going to start. So a lot of times when we talk about technology and we talk about all these great ideas, there's so many ideas swirling in our minds, and we really want to commit to maybe one that we try in the next week, 2 weeks, even in the next 3 weeks. So what's the one idea that you're going to maybe start with or take away from tonight? So we'll give you a minute to either post that into the chat box, or you can, again, use the text feature, or if you want to be brave and jump in and use the microphone, you can do that as well. That's awesome, Yvonne. Checking out Google Drawings. B, hopefully, good luck. I know that's the hard part because we got iPads a few years back in many school boards, that they're now starting to get a bit older and getting to that replacement stage. Cool, that's cool with, so we like Pic Collage and taking a collection and asking a question. Samantha's thinking of Pic Collage too, which is awesome. I'm glad you like the resources, Sabrina. Angie, that's an awesome point. I think that's what I love about digital provocations as well, is that they often just are such great open questions that we don't need to have 5 different questions for different groups, but we really can start with a provocation that we all have an entry placed into. And sometimes the kids and what they come up with really surprises us. Oh, cool, Nicole. I like the idea of sharing some of the tools with teachers with Apple Clips. If you watch the Wall Street Journal girl, she really has challenged me to step up my game with Apple Clips, so it's something I'll be playing with over the next little while. Oh, I like the idea of students explaining their thinking using Apple Clips. And I was in a kindergarten class today, and the student was so excited about getting her face on the screen and doing that selfie piece. I think it would be interesting to see some of them use Apple Clips to do a bit of a selfie video. Yeah, we've talked really fast, so you may need to take some time to reflect on it. So don't feel the pressure. So Nicole, that's a great question. So I believe, and Mally will correct me if I'm wrong, Mally will put together all of the resources. So all of the links that we shared tonight in a little resource package, as she mentioned, as well as a video of the session, if I'm not mistaken. Hopefully I got that right, Mally. Hey. So you'll be able to go back and take another look at your own leisure. And the Google Drawing app I've put on YouTube, so you feel free to, if you need to share it or if you want to show it to kids, it's not that exciting, but any way that you need to use it. We do have one on Puppet, and we had one on Pic Collage, so we can add that in as well if you're interested. Awesome. So I know we're done. I'm not usually done early, but it's a first. But thank you guys so much for taking time on a busy Wednesday afternoon, right after a holiday long weekend, to chat about math and learning and digital tools. I think when we look at digital provocations, we looked at it tonight from a math lens, but I think there's so much potential across the curriculum. And just we'll share one last tool with you as we go. If you've never checked out the Google Cultural Institute, it's a fantastic tool. But I think there's so much potential with our learners today that live in this visual environment, in this visual world, to use that visual element as a spark to the rich, awesome conversations that we love to have in our classrooms. So just repeating the Minecraft activity. Thanks for the question, B. So I was new to Minecraft. I kept getting cows in my house. That's not supposed to happen. So for the question, we just cleared an area of 100 square blocks. And I just said to the kids, what should I build in my area of 100 square blocks? And they didn't use Minecraft. They just used grid paper on this area. And then they had to justify to me that they didn't go beyond that area of 100 blocks. We added perimeter into it. I think if we did it again, we would keep perimeter out because it kind of messed them up a little bit when they started explaining perimeter. But definitely was amazing to kids. We had one kid tapping his fingers with excitement to tell me what I should build and to justify what the area of all of his designs were and that it fit within my parameters and my limitations. Yeah, Nick, I think it's an awesome idea to start that conversation at home, especially if you have a class Twitter account or a class website. Those pictures and those provocations, I think, are a great connection to that home conversation and that engagement in math, and it helps us make that shift. I know a lot of times we were brought up or we learned math a different way, and sometimes we're trying to help parents see where that math is all around them as well. So Lori, it depends. So when I do activities like this, I often will start capturing pictures. So because Matt and I have been doing, Matt and I started looking at digital provocations 2-ish years ago, maybe 3 years ago. So for him and I, and I'm speaking for him, so maybe that's terrible. So I started just looking for math all around me because we were having this conversation. But when I go into classrooms, we often start with their learning goal and then try to think of pictures that match. So it's a bit of both. We try to curate pictures that we think would work, but then when it's in the classroom, we're really trying to focus in on that learning goal and what would meet the kids' needs. And I think that was the lesson I learned from the infographics, was I had all these grand plans of what I thought a grade 5 student would like, and in the end, they all wanted sports infographics. So it really reminded me of knowing what your kids' interests are and using that as a starting point as well. So if I know the learning goal and I know what their interests are, what pictures kind of come to mind. The hard part is when you're looking for a specific image, sometimes it's hard to get exactly that. Thanks for coming and checking in from the library, Harriet. That's awesome. Any other questions before we head out? Feel free to connect with me at any time. You can find me on Twitter or online.
So thanks a lot, Tina, for that amazing presentation. I'm going to play with Apple Clips because I thought that was really cool, and I don't even have Classroom anymore. So I love that. So and I love the comments about people going to try that tomorrow, which is just such a great thing to do with professional development, that you learn something at night and then go back in excited. So thanks everyone for joining us, and Tina for that absolutely fabulous presentation. So just a couple things in closing up. So first thing is there's a link to the, a feedback or a feedback survey that lets OTF Connects and the Ministry of Education and Tina know some feedback on the presentation. So you can get to it in a couple of ways. One of them is to just click on the link. It's the only live link in the presentation, or when you log out of the room, you're going to be directly sent to the link. If you could fill that out, we'd really appreciate it. And you'll be able to then download a certificate of participation. There's still 6 OTF Connect sessions happening until the end of the year. They will be ending May 3rd with some pretty, there's some pretty great sessions coming up in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and you can go to the OTF Connect's website to register for those as well. And there is still a little bit of funding for the Ministry of Education AQ courses in math, technology, and kindergarten, and you can go to the OTF website to learn about that. And finally, following us on social media.